listening to the Unleash Greatness podcast with your host, Jonathan Mitchell. The best in personal, emotional, spiritual, and business development.
Hey, you guys, thank you again so much for tuning in. It is the last episode of this week. Don't worry, we'll be back next for more of my amazing unleashing greatness inside of you, yourself, your whatever is going on in your life. Today is Spiel Day, which means I get to kind of just ramble on about whatever comes to mind, which hopefully you can enjoy this topics of this week. I'm going to get to that in just one second. Today is sponsored by naturalmedicinemamas.com. I'm very, very close to these people running this business. They have advice, products, services around natural and alternative medicine. They have a lot of products that help both men, women, and children to help them be healthy in everyday life. Check it out. They have some amazing products. Once again, this is Unleash Greatness. Jonathan Mitchell. This is the last episode of the week. Hope you guys have had an amazing time. Thank you again so much for listening in. And let's get to it. Thank you so much. Well, it is the last day of the week this week, you guys. I am so grateful again for anyone who listens in and shares this or wants to come on board or whatever. Seriously, any support I get is very, very appreciated. Just wanted to say again, thank you. Today is Spiel Day. If you want to know more about what Spiel Day means, I can go over it one more time. It is inspired by my time with at-risk youth in Chicago and in St. George, Utah. How I used to take one day a week and just kind of have conversations with the kids about different topics from all over, from finances to success to boundaries to expectations to whatever. I just kind of used my coaching background to help them as much as I could. So today I'm going to talk about a topic that can get deep pretty quick, but I'm going to try and keep it succinct and upfront and make sure this makes sense, because this is a topic that blew my mind the first time I heard it. So that is the topic of creating space. When I first heard this subject, I used to do a weekly mastermind with a bunch of friends of mine. I still do one, but it's not actually in person. It's actually a remote one. But this in-person one was with four of these guys. All of us had different backgrounds. We got together and talked about various subjects, did books and that kind of thing. It was really, really cool, actually. Grew a lot in that time. One of the guys, his name was Matt, was at the time a user experience, a UX guy for Adobe. And so he talked about in the design platform, being a designer for websites and that kind of stuff. He was saying it's not about putting as much information you can on the website. It's about knowing what to take off and how to create space so that it's visually appealing and that it's easy to navigate and get through websites. And I know it kind of sounds funky, but he took that same concept and talked about personal development, creating space. And so to start this conversation, first off, let me say that I got this from him. I did not create this. It was blessed into my life, and I've taken it and put it into my own coaching and also kind of added some steroids of my own thoughts into it. So hopefully this will make sense. One of the things he brought up was pointing out that there's not, the conversation starts with having a conversation around abundance or scarcity. And his argument was it's not about saying it's either abundance, you're either in abundance or in scarcity. He said the argument is it's abundance versus excess. It's not scarcity. Because technically he said, if you think about it, there's no such thing as scarcity. There's just too much. There's either the just right amount or there's too much, abundance or excess. And the reason, or what he brought up was, there's people in their lives who are just doing too much of the wrong thing. And so they experience a lack of certain items like money or opportunities or that kind of thing, but it's because they have excess of other things in their lives that are taking place, so they can't have the success that they want. So they think I'm experiencing scarcity, but what they're actually experiencing is excess. As we went on through the conversation, it was interesting for us to kind of bring up and saying, okay, how does this apply in our lives? What kind of things do we have a control over in this certain aspect? What is actually abundance and what is excess? So his point was, and we all kind of came to the conclusion that which is abundant adds energy or gives more life into your life, whether that's finances, relationships, things, people, time, whatever. And that which is excess drains you of time, energy, money, resources, whatever. So I'm going to talk about 4, maybe 5 different areas of life where this can apply. So let's talk about time first. If you have an abundance of time, and I mean like your time is used to give you energy, you're doing things or you're spending time doing things that give you energy. They don't drain you of energy. Or you're spending your time doing things that are quote unquote excess, meaning they drain you of energy. The best way I can to describe this is just saying, okay, what activities do you do? What do you spend time doing that drains you of energy, that takes away, I don't want to say takes away life, but makes you feel less alive versus the things that make you feel more alive. So if you look at, just look at your day today or your day yesterday and just say, how many things did I do, or how did I spend my time, and did it give me more life or did it drain me of life? Did it give me more energy or drain me of energy? So it's easy to look at. There's some people who watch TV for 5 hours. You can honestly ask them, do you feel like that gave you more energy and time and it helped you, or did it drain you? An interesting topic I want to say before I move forward is that anything can be excess and anything can be abundant, right? So for TV, you can use TV at a certain point. Like there's sometimes TV can be excess and other times where it can be abundant. Sometimes you just want to zone out, watch a good movie, and have a good time with your family. That can be a good thing. But when you're watching like 12 hours a day of TV or playing video games in excess and it becomes draining, that's that energy shift when it goes from abundance to excess. You want to think about and say, am I spending too much time doing this activity? Or maybe you're spending too much time at work. Workaholics, I'm going to talk about this probably another time about rest. But workaholics think if I work more, I'm going to make more. It's not that. You got to take your time and space, and maybe it's excess of too much work. So the first task I want you to do is look at your time. What do you spend your time doing that drains you of energy? And what do you spend your time doing that provides more energy, that gives you more life? And that could be spending time with good friends or family. It could be even watching a movie to help yourself relax after a long day. It could be working out. It could be meditating. It could be whatever. Just look at the things you are doing. And if your life, it's interesting to look at your life on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis. And if you put a percentage on it and you say, of the 12 to 15 hours that I'm awake, 50% of it gives me energy, is abundant, and 50% drains me. Or maybe it's 30-70 or 70-30. Like just look at the percentage and say, how many things am I spending time on that gives me more energy or takes away? Just take a look at it. Whatever is excess and draining you, cut it back or cut it out completely. One of the two. Or identify and say, okay, if I did this much time with it, it'd be better for me. Next up is relationships. So this is a very interesting conversation because sometimes relationships can be at times difficult to maneuver around. I only say that because sometimes you're working with someone that you don't have a choice and you can't can't cut off the relationship, or you have a family member, a very close one that obviously is not going to go away and you can't cut off the relationship. I mean, you could, but it could have detrimental effects. So it's interesting to look at the relationships you have. They say, the experts and people out there say that the 5 people that you spend your most time with are the people you become most like. So look at the 5 to 10 people that you spend most of the time with, whether it's work, family, friends, whoever. Take a look at them and say, of those 5 people, 10 people, how many of them give me energy and how many of them drain me of energy? And of the ones who drain energy, you need to start limiting your aspect, or at least limiting their influence to you. And there's other ways emotionally you can kind of start cutting off your energy from people, and we can talk about that another time. But if you can't cut them off completely, which again might not be the most functional way to do things with family or coworkers, how can you give yourself more time with people that give you more energy? Or can you, switch departments? Can you switch different roles? Can you even set a boundary with your friends, family, coworkers, whoever, that are draining to you, and say, when you complain all the time, it's kind of draining to me. I'm trying to be positive. Can you help me be positive? And can you have a boundary with me that when you're around me, you can ask for feedback and we can have a productive conversation, because this topic of complaining all the time, it doesn't work for me. And I want to have a relationship with you. So let's work something out. It's okay to bring up and be conscious and say, this relationship as it is does not work for me. If it's valuable to you, say, I want to keep it, but it has to change. And then they have the ability to choose into the new boundaries of relationship, or they can choose out and say, I'm sorry, that doesn't work for me. Sometimes you have to. There's times where relationships get cut off and you have to let people go because they're not on the same energy playing field as you are. And if you want to grow and progress, sometimes you have to let go of people because they're not willing to shift up with you. They just want to stay where they're at. And sometimes where they're at's not bad. It just isn't where you want to be. So be willing to cut those people off, because as you level up and you get to more people in a higher energy, you will bring other people into your field, into your experience of life that are more supportive of the energy you want to be a part of. Third thing is resources. So we have time, relationships, resources. And when I say resources, I mean any object or thing that you may have, whether it's your house or clothing or junk drawer or whatever. Resources of any kind. How many resources that you have that are draining you of energy, and how many things are giving you energy. So if you look around your life, like for instance with pack rats, if you know someone who's a pack rat and kind of keeps things and they never ever use it, it's taking up space. And I heard once a quote, I think it's from a T. Harv Eker, that said, someone's outside world is a reflection of their inside world. So if you want to see what their inside world looks like, go look at their house. Not just their house, but their relationships, their money, everything. But their house is one key way to see what their life is like. Again, it's not the only way. It's just one aspect into someone's, their psyche. So if you look at a pack rat, they're holding on to all these things, and it's taking up all this space. And then if you've ever seen the show, I can't remember what the show is, but there's this show that goes about and helps people, unpack and not be pack rats anymore. They have mental and emotional breakdowns because they literally are attached to these items. And without them, it's like they're freeing up all this energy and space, and it creates this breakdown because they don't know what to do with it. Like some people can't handle it. They literally have breakdowns, mental breakdowns. I know most people listening aren't pack rats, and you probably don't have that extreme of a thing, but here's my first course of action for you in this next couple of months as we're going into spring cleaning. Look at your closet. Look at every single item in your closet for clothing: shoes, socks, belts, suits, girls' dresses, skirts, whatever. Anything and any item that you may wear, and take a look at it and say, do I wear this? Is this something I've ever used this last year? Winter, summer, spring, fall. Do I ever wear this? Is it in style, or is it just taking up space? And you want to create the space needed to get, other clothing. It's interesting to see. I'm going to tell you a quick story real fast about a girl that I coached using this principle. So she went through a major divorce. Her husband decided to cheat on her with another woman in their house on their bed. So she was having obviously a hard time with this, because every time she'd go in there, even though they're divorced and he was gone, she would get triggered every time she went into her house. To her bedroom, because she saw the bed that she was cheated on with this other woman. So she had a really hard time and didn't sleep in there, and just kind of slept on the couch and just had a hard time with it. She was coaching with me for a couple months, and she just said, okay, I don't know what to do because of this situation. It triggers me. I'm always upset. It just kind of angers me. I said, okay, so what would you do if you got rid of it? She's like, well, I can't because I don't have the money for another bed, and I wouldn't be sleeping on, I wouldn't have a bed to sleep on. I'm like, well, you're not sleeping on it now anyways. So I just said, here's my challenge to you. I just want you to put it up on KSL, the bed, the frame, everything, and try and sell it. So she put it up there for amount that she didn't think she was going to sell it for, but just tried it just because I asked her to. Sold it right there within a week. Sold for more money than she thought she was able to get out of it. People came, they got it out of her house. She did this energy clearing thing where she kind of just released it, where she really let go of her ex. The interesting thing was that she was having a hard time with dating, and it had been like a year after that, because she kept having this energy in her house, in her heart. In her heart, she kept having this space for her ex and hurt that she couldn't let go of. And as she let go of that item, that bed, it helped her release that hurt. And so when the bed left, so did the hurt, which is very interesting to me. Then she had the money to buy a new bed, bought something she liked, was super comfortable, and she put it back in there, and she felt this like relief, and she was able to sleep better. She felt better, energy was lifted, and she didn't feel the hurt anymore. She was able to release it and let go. And soon thereafter, she met this guy and got married, and now is happy, and she's doing awesome now. Look at the things that may be draining you of energy. Even the things like your closet with clothes, it might not be draining you, but it maybe be excess, which means it is draining you and it's taking up space. Look at that with any resource you have. Last thing is money. Doesn't matter how much money you have, whether you're a bajillionaire or whether you're broke, take a look at what you spend your money on. is the things, items, places, experience, people, whatever, the people you're going out to lunch with and buying food with, the experiences you're having, the programs you buy, whatever, does it bring more life to you? Does it give you energy? Is it making you better? Does it make you feel better? Or does it drain you? Do you have a drain in your life where maybe you have 2 or 3 subscriptions to things that just aren't working very well? Maybe you're paying for items or things that you think you should be doing because your friend does, but it doesn't do anything for you. Maybe you're just buying way too much food in excess and you need to cut it out so you can release the weight you want to. Whatever it is, keep track of all the things you buy in 1 week and just take a look at it and say, how many of these items gave me more life and how many of these are just excess or just take away energy. Be willing to release those to free up both money and energy so you can spend it on the things that give you more energy, or to invest it, or to save it, or to whatever you want to do to create more for yourself. The biggest point I want you to look at is that everything is subjective in this conversation. To some people, me having 3 or 4 guitars is excess. For me, every single one of those items has a job and it gives me energy because they do exactly what I need it to do. There are other items in my house that are excess and I need to get rid of it because I don't even use it anymore. And I'm going to do that this year. That's one of my commitments to myself, was identifying what clothes I don't wear, what things I don't use, and just start getting rid of stuff and just be rid of it. The biggest principle behind this excess is that when you create space, it creates a void and a vacuum that something has to fill in. And so you get to consciously, in the situation, fill in the gaps with something else. When you get rid of half of your closet for clothes, it creates the space, the money. I mean, you could give your clothes away to charity, you could sell them, you could do whatever you want with them. But it creates the space for you to have more clothing that you are actually going to wear and give you more energy. It gives you more. The point is to get it to where instead of 30% of your life giving you energy and 70% of it is draining you at some point, excess, make it so 70, 80, 90, 100% of your life is fully supportive and giving you energy, and there's 20 or less percent draining you of energy. Get to the point and you find that, like, you'll see this abundance of energy. You'll find this momentum build because you don't have anything in your life. You don't have relationships, people, things, money, time. Everything is productive, giving you energy. You'll get so much more done because you're not doing the things, not spending money on the things or time or people or whatever that are draining you. Be willing to get rid of the things, the resources that are not supporting you. Be willing to not spend money on the things that don't support you. Be willing to either set boundaries or cut ties or at least back off from the people that may drain you. Be willing to look at your time and say, this does not support me anymore. I'm going to cut it off. Take a look at your life, whether by a day, a week, or a month, and just look at what drains you and what gives you more life. Commit to yourself. You deserve it. You have all rights to have as much life and energy as you can. These are very simple things. In fact, I'm going to give you one thing I want you to do. Go into your closet or to a junk drawer. Get rid of everything that you don't use or haven't used in the last year. Give it to charity, sell it. I don't care what you do with it, but get rid of it this week. And then just watch and see what happens. Or the other challenge is, if you feel like you're held back in some way financially or something like that, find the one thing that you may be spending money on that is draining you. One thing. Cut it off, stop doing it, or if you have to buy it, then buy less of it, or do something to change it, or change your relationship around it. That's another option too, is changing how you feel about it. But instead, find a way to spend the money in a way that gives you more energy, and you'll find you'll have more of it, which is crazy. Abundance means having more in a good way that gives you life. Having too much money for someone, if someone had too much money, if someone had bajillions and bajillions of dollars, that could be in excess, and it could be more detrimental to them. I know it sounds crazy because everyone says, I could never have too much money. But what if you did have too much money, you didn't have any idea of what to do with it, and it was hurting you more than anything? There are the ability to have too much of anything in excess. Be willing to look at what is excessive, what drains you, and then look at what is abundant, what gives you life, and commit to it, stick with it, and see what kind of change happens in your life. After you would, I'd love to hear what happens. Write me a story, hit me up, let me know what happens. Thank you again for listening. This is Jonathan Mitchell. Unleash Greatness.